Hey everyone, and welcome back to Game Over, Order Up. It's the show where we take a look at a game while also trying to cook some food from that game. Today we're playing Warioware Get It Together for Nintendo Switch. In true Warioware fashion, Get It Together tasks you with working your way through over 200 ridiculous microgames. From plucking the armpit hairs from a godlike figure to keeping an ice cream from falling off its cone. It's packed to the brim with constant what the heck moments in a surprisingly deep package. And is there food? Boy is there. A whole stage dedicated to the stuff, with a bunch of food specific microgames to munch your way through. It was hard to pick something from so much food to choose from, but I settled on a dish that I love but don't make often enough. Omurice, also known as a Japanese rice omelette. Omurice is an omelette filled with fried rice cooked with vegetables, chicken and ketchup, and then topped with more ketchup in various patterns. First thing to think about with omurice is the rice portion, which, if you want it to be really good, involves cooking the rice a day prior to everything else. So let's time travel back to 10 PM the night before I filmed this video where, pajamas on, I suddenly remember I meant to have cooked rice ready for the next day, and where you will notice that I am missing my legs. Little camouflage joke for you there. Sorry, it's terrible. The rice we're using is short grain Japanese sushi rice, which is the rice you should use for any Japanese recipe. We're going to pour a cup of rice into a bowl before beginning to wash it in cool water. The reason we're washing it is to get rid of the starch and bran from the rice, which would make it taste worse overall and potentially be too sticky. Depending on the rice you get, this step may not be necessary, so always check your package first. We're going to wash it until the water gets cloudy before draining it and washing again, continuing this method until the water we're washing in is no longer cloudy. Once the rice is washed, leave it to stand for 30 minutes to an hour. Really wishing I hadn't left it this late. With our rice washed, we're going to add it to a pan along with 2 cups of water, or twice as much water to the amount of rice that you have. Bring this to the boil, put a lid on your pan, and then turn down the heat to simmer. At this point, it's good to step away from the kitchen and continue living your life, leaving your rice to boil on its own without realising you've left the temperature on too high. Stay away from the kitchen until you hear the water bubble over, returning in a panic to try and reduce the heat. That was a close one. Let's make sure we keep that from happening again, okay? Oh god, no! Keep cooking the rice for about 8 to 10 minutes until the water is cooked off, but the rice isn't burnt and dry. Very important. With the rice cooked, leave to rest for 5 minutes before fluffing it up with a fork or chopsticks, putting it into a bowl and then leaving to cool to room temperature. When this is done, we're popping it in the fridge until we need it tomorrow. And while we wait, why don't we take a look at Warioware? Warioware as a series is a strange beast, because with every entry it feels like there's no way they could do another one of these. Surely the imagination mines have run dry. How do you come up with even more 10-second long microgames? The go-to method, it seems, is to change up the method of input each time. So while the games will follow similar themes, I feel like a variation of plug someone's nose has appeared in every game so far, the method of actually doing that will change. Get It Together's method of input sees you approaching each game with a member of the cast of 18 characters. There are differences in the way each character controls. Some float around, some run and jump, one sits in place and shoots, and so on. This adds an extra layer to what you need to react to as each microgame comes up. Warioware can be frantic at the best of times, so I was concerned that this would make it too much to handle, but thankfully that isn't the case, and it succeeds in keeping the games fresh by mixing up your approach. Unfortunately, not all characters are created equal. While I liked most of them, there are a few which I avoid using where I can. 2 of the characters, for example, move on their own, causing you to have less overall control and making some games using them needlessly difficult. Thankfully though, before you enter each stage, you can choose to set which characters you use if you want to, so you can always hold on to your favourites. The microgames are wacky, wonderful and fun, with the games based on existing Nintendo franchises being particular standouts for me as always. In my opinion, Warioware lives and dies by its multiplayer modes though. I know some games have been strictly single player based, but for me, multiplayer is where it's at, and beyond the microgames, there's a fairly substantial bunch of multiplayer modes on offer. I had a blast playing these with my friends, but there are a few downsides to it. First of all, there's no mode to just play through as many microgames as possible together beyond the 2-player co-op in the story mode. And considering the reason you play this game is to play the microgames, it's a strange oversight. Secondly, because of how many characters there are, Friends who are coming into this on a games night without having played already are at a distinct disadvantage in any competitive games. While it's easy enough to get to grips with them, it's an extra frustration and barrier to getting right into the fun. Thankfully though, once you get going, the multiplayer that is there is tons of fun and will definitely become a regular fixture in future games nights for me and my friends. That mixed with the rest of the package, which provides an online high score mode, loads of micro games to unlock and plenty of repeat play, there's plenty of game to have here, and I've had a great time playing it. It's the following day, so let's work on the rest of the rice filling. We're going to start by peeling and dicing one onion before, controversially, doing the same with some garlic. While this recipe typically doesn't have garlic in it, I figure any food from a Wario game would be full of the stuff. Still, let's not go overboard, we're just going to stick to 2 cloves. The final part of this section is to cut up 1 carrot. Really, you could put any other vegetables you want in it at this point, go nuts, but I'm using what I currently have available to me, which is this. With our veg cut, we're going to put it to one side. Our next step is to take a chicken breast and dice it. It's worth noting at this point that I barely eat meat, so chopping into the raw flesh here is fairly unusual for me, but it is a traditional part of Omurice and so I'm giving it a go. Never let it be said that I'm unwilling to suffer for my art, or whatever this video series is. Dice the chicken up fairly small and then it's time to cook. Pour some oil into your pan and put it on a medium heat. Once the oil is heated and spread around the pan, we're adding the chicken and cooking until it has a slightly golden texture. After the chicken is cooked, add in the veg mix and continue frying, keeping it moving to stop anything from sticking to the bottom of your poorly named non-stick pan. Remember the rice from yesterday? Good. Add it in once your veg is cooked and keep stirring while it heats up. And now for the surprise ingredients, or rather, surprise if you don't already know what this recipe entails, tomato ketchup. We're going to squirt this all over, using as much as we like, and make a nice pattern maybe. It's an important part of the dish, so we're not going to be lax. Once we've mixed this all up, let's hit it with a final pinch of salt and some pepper for extra taste. We're going to put this rice to one side because it's omelette time. Now we have a fair amount of filling for our omelette, so we need to do our best to make it as thick as possible. 4 eggs is a good amount here, although as you'll soon see, even that may not be enough. Hit the eggs with some salt and pepper before whisking it all up. We're heating some oil in a pan on a medium heat before pouring them eggs in, rolling them around so they cover the entire base of our pan. The trick to keep eggs from sticking is to lift the edges with a spatula. This way they'll be easier to fold later on. Let's continue doing this until the omelette solidifies. If you feel it's all cooking a bit too quickly, then make sure you turn the heat down a bit. With our egg formed, we're taking too much of the filling and chucking it right into the middle there before attempting to fold the eggs in and... oh no. We might have overdone it on the filling here, but let's keep trying to keep it all together anyway. And did you know you can serve this dish with the eggs directly over the rice rather than with the rice inside? Maybe a better idea if you're bad at folding eggs like this guy. With your attempt failed, remove your shamed dish from shot as if it were never there and prepare to try again. Let your audience rest assured that these eggs were eaten by my taste tester / fiance. There's no waste here, pals. Okay. Attempt 2. Get them eggs in, spread around, lift the sides, add in less filling, and then move it to the side of the eggs because you learned your lesson this time, and then feel regret over the small tear, but settle for it anyway because you're starving. The best way to effectively lift this from the pan without risking further damage is to place a plate directly over the omelette and then turn the pan upside down. Not only does this help press the whole thing down, making it easier to handle and shape, more on that in a minute, but it also means you don't have to mess about with trying to slide it over the sides. That's a top tip for you there. Now typically these are served in a rugby ball shape. Now it's hard to cook eggs that way, so you can attempt to shape it after the fact by using a piece of kitchen roll to shape it to the best of your ability. As well as having ketchup in the middle, Omurice is served with ketchup on top as well. In the game this is done with a little ketchup love heart, so let's give that a go, briefly showing your face to the camera as we focus hard on making a ketchup drawing of... yeah, sure, that's hard enough. More traditionally though, the ketchup is squirted over in a zigzag pattern like so. I don't think it's turned out too badly myself, but how does it taste? Honestly, pretty good. The various flavours of the rice have taken to the ketchup well, and mixed with the egg, it's a triumph all round. I'd highly recommend giving it a go. Now if you don't mind, I'm off to scoff this down before jumping into some more micro game mayhem. Thanks for watching, see you next time.